Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Spiritual Sanctuary. This is Bertina, your host, and today we are going to talk to Gabby. She's a young lady that I met through Cosmic Connections, and she is an astrology expert. She is one who I love going to and asking all the spiritual questions about astrology and the planets. And she is one, if you've ever met with an astrologer, sometimes they speak so far above your head that you don't always understand, but she really makes it really approachable and understandable for people who are not the astrology experts. So, Gabby, welcome. Will you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you found your way into astrology?
Hi, I'm Gabby, and about me, currently I am a mom and have really been focusing on that. Astrology came into the picture long before that, and it actually helped me through my process of becoming a mom. But astrology started actually when I was a kid. I was really into it, into the horoscopes when uh, horoscope apps came out on iPods and in magazines when you would read the horoscopes. And I don't know if it ever resonated with me. I have no idea, but it was something I always followed. I just didn't deep dive it until probably 2020, 2021 when COVID hit and everyone
Okay.
was more on social media. It started popping up on my feed. I don't know how it popped up on my feed. It knew somewhere.
Yeah. Well, what is it about astrology that you like? Because for me, all the planets are really cool. All the moon phases are really cool, but you put them together and it's really hard to explain. I can check my horoscope each day and it sounds great, but there's so much more beyond that. Can you explain a little bit about all of that just for so the listeners can kind of understand as well?
Yes. So just more than horoscopes or
Just what do you feel like astrology really is? Because we do have the daily horoscopes, but is that all there is? Do I just look to see, hey, I'm a Scorpio and today I need to watch my tongue? How can I learn a little bit more about what astrology is as it relates to me and self-awareness and things like that?
Yes. So I think I find astrology as my whole life journey in a cosmic photograph of the sky at the time you were born. It shows everything about you in not just there's the surface level of personality wise, how you communicate. Maybe are you bubbly? Are you more introverted? Are you more charismatic? And how you feel things, how you take action on things and take initiative. There's all of those elements, but as a whole, it really can tell you what areas of life that how you approach different areas of life and what your soul came here to do in terms of your purpose. And I don't think
Mhm.
anyone's purpose is more or less than the other person. It's just where your soul agreed to come here and transmute and what lessons you're learning or what you came here to embody. If I think astrology only goes as deep as you go with yourself. The more self-introspection, reflection that you have, the more astrology can speak to you in that way.
Okay, great. So, kind of like a full birth chart, if I were to give you my birth date and the time of date and where I was born, what can you tell about a person with that?
So that's the very like foundation basic information for learning your chart or even calculating your chart. You don't need the time, but it does help. The time helps with your rising sign, your ascendant sign. It's where the sun was over the horizon at the time you were born.
Oh,
And what that does is it's your life path and your life theme. And it tells you what you came here to do. Did you come here to be someone who learns how to coexist with other people? And so each house is going to be outlined in a way that like you need to focus on where you stand in relationships with other people and how you can learn from other people. Or did you come here to be an individualistic person? So your all these houses is what the rising sign sets up by the 12 houses. And the rising sign is the first house. And then from there, you also learn where the moon was. The moon changes the fastest every 2.5 days. So
Oh,
that's why also the day is important, just because even the time could be important there. If the moon changes signs the same day, depending what time of day you were born, it could be a different sign. But then that's where it lines up all the planets, and the time with the rising, when it sets up all the houses, also shows where all the planets fall in the different houses in your chart. So these are just like the basics for calculating your chart. And then from there, you start to you kind of follow a little breadcrumb trail when you learn every little thing that way. And that's usually how you build up the bigger picture and understanding of astrology, but it does take time.
okay. About how much time? So if I came to you or an astrologer, how can you help me figure out, like, say, my work or my romance or my health? Those are the different houses, correct?
So yeah, so there's 12 houses. There is certain houses that can be focused on your relationships. There are other houses that can focus on your career. Some even focus on trauma and healing. All the 12
Okay.
houses remember different parts of life. And so if you come to me, we can start it is good to have a focus point just because it
Okay.
is a lot to learn. Are my dogs going insane?
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Okay. I hear them. So anyway, sorry.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
but it is good to have a focus point just because when you can focus on one area of the chart, you can
Mhm.
then start to branch out and learn other parts of the chart. So if you are career focused and you want to know what your dream job is, or you know what your dream job is and how is your chart going to be able to support that, I do think you can, every chart is able to manifest an abundant of ways. So I don't think there's like one size fits all. Just because you're
Okay.
one sign doesn't mean it can't show up a different way. So I do think you can still choose your own path in that way, but there are like it's like a cosmic mechanism. It's your mechanical internal being. So how you approach work. Are you more dedicated? Are you someone who can dedicate so much time? Are you someone who needs it to be more free flow and you do it on your own time? Do you feel activated on it? Or are
Okay.
you someone that needs just consistency? Just as long as you can put the horse blinders on and be consistent with the plan and follow through. And there, all the houses, there's like three houses that usually pertain to per thing, for the job. There's a house of how you get resources and what you value. And then there's another house, it's like your daily energy and how you like to make your daily agenda and how you take action on your day. And then there's the actual job of career, which is your reputation and what you're known for in the public eye. So there are different elements that you can start with because you're starting by breaking it down and then you can build on it. So then, like, okay, so if I have workhorse energy and I'm ready to dedicate, okay, then we can kind of break it down to, okay, Mars is your planet of action. So then that will show you what's the best way to take action on a project? How do you follow through with something and how do you feel motivated? So you can start breaking it down that way. So to good, yeah, having a focal point, usually relationships, career, money are the big ones.
Okay. Yeah, it's like with tarot reading, it seems to be relationships, career, and health most of the time is the questions that most people come through. Is there a way to combine astrology with tarot or oracle cards? I just thought of that.
There is, that's not my strong suit.
Oh, it's okay.
Um, I know the tarot cards have astrological um associations with different signs. There are oracle cards that are based around astrology. Though there is a deck that I use that I like because it is an astrology oracle deck, and
Okay.
that kind of how it speaks to me. If the world speaks to me in astrology, then I can read cards more easily using the
Yeah.
symbols and information that I know. Um, but then I know there are a lot of tarot readers usually provide full moon or new moon readings as well. I
Okay.
don't know that much about it, but I know that's out there.
No, but that makes sense because you're going to connect with what you like. And it's like I do cards, but I cannot do astrology. I can tell you I'm a Scorpio, and that's about it. Well, I can tell you my personality, but we won't go there all the time. But a lot of times, people cards are a little bit more intuitive in some ways, and astrology to me is more logical. But then at the same time, Oracle cards helps you, like you said, live in the world that you're used to, helps you with guiding how you are. Can astrology kind of help with healing and shadow work too?
Yes, it does. That was
Oh,
actually a big part of astrology for me was it helped me go through shadow work and my internal constructs and shame, guilt. There's everything that, you feel inside astrology can also help you um, discover. There's
oh,
like
okay.
houses about like family, so you can look into like some where was your generational trauma and what was your expectations of family. And then there's another house that is about vulnerability and intimacy and how do you face the shadows and fears about yourself. And there's another house that is like just the unconscious that we aren't unaware of and how
Oh,
all of these things connect so we can bring awareness to that area of life. So there are so that's what astrology did for me. It helped me through my own shadow work and facing my own fears. And it was a way of radical acceptance. Like, okay, that did happen. Okay, this is how I feel. Astrology is very validating in that way.
oh, okay, great. So, so let's think about this. You're Scorpio as
Hmm.
well. Yeah, that's
And
why you're the second Scorpio I've had on the podcast today. That's the funny thing. I think you're the third one all the way through so far. So, with that, let's think about astrology with you. Is there any archetypes or any energy or anything that you feel like about about Scorpio that shows in your life journey? I know you're young, and that's why I was like stumbling on the words of life journey, but you have had a life journey. And do you think the Scorpio energy has helped anything with you? And is there an archetype that you feel like really resonates with you?
I, Scorpio, I've always resonated with being a Scorpio. Even since I was a kid, even before I deep dove it, I was just like, I'm a Scorpio because Scorpio is a sign is very, very deep. It is very, it's really the kind of uncomfortable parts of ourselves. And Scorpio to me shows me and whoever else is a Scorpio, if it resonates with you, it shows to me we just where we can accept these parts of ourselves that we usually hide from everybody because Scorpio is a dark sign. It's about death and rebirth and
Yeah.
transformation. And in astrology, it's ruled by Pluto, and Pluto is the slowest moving planet, the smallest planet, but it also sees everything before everyone else does. So we can have this very strong intuition about a premonition even of something happening. Scorpios can be known for being mysterious and private, and usually we're not easily warming up to people as much as everyone likes to easily connect, and we kind of take our time to warm up to people, but it's because we just have more of a lot of water signs have intuition, but Scorpio is definitely like we might not know where it's coming from, but we can kind of just tell when
Yeah.
something's like, this isn't working, especially in mythology, it's the scorpion, and scorpions are going to sting. You have to that's what they do, and that's their instinct. And so we might even strike something. Might come off harsh to people. I've been told that
Yeah.
too. I've been told I've
Oh,
come off
yeah.
kind of harsh, but later on, in the long term, if you trust your intuition, you listen to it. Usually, if not, it's always right. I think
Well,
intuition is always right.
I know it seems whenever I meet people as a Scorpio, it's either automatically either like you or I don't. And you
Hmm.
don't even have to say a word. It's like it takes you just walking through the door. And people are like that with me too. They either like me or they don't like me. I think that we are very strong in our energy. We stand very firm in who we are. And intuitively, we don't second guess ourselves. It's just like, oh, well, something bad's going to happen. Let's avoid this. We don't, and we may later go search and figure out why, because we do have that investigative type personality, but we're going to take care of ourselves first. And yeah,
Hmm.
I love being a Scorpio. I really do. But let's see, what else was I going to ask you? I was going to ask you about, we got into the intuition and inner cycles. Is there anything about each sign that you can tell me? in regards to intuition, is there certain signs that are really good with intuition, some that are more logical, some that are more emotional? Is there anything that you can tell me? I know we don't have, there's kind of those little stereotypes and they're kind of fun, but is there one sign that's a little bit has specific stereotypes that tend to be like them, like the Scorpio? We do tend to sting and we are kind of darker. So,
I think it just depends. Just because that is a loaded question because it depends on your chart. You know,
okay.
we have an external chart actually and an internal chart. So
Oh, really?
there is a part of it that we show the external world and how we interact with our external world, but then there's also a point that shows us our internal world and how we function internally, which is why some people I think also struggle to resonate with their sign because they're so focused on the external and maybe how people view them or how they view other people. But then who are you on the inside? And who are
Oh,
you when no one's watching, when no one's, prying into your mind and you're not interacting with anybody? But intuition, though, I do think can show up differently for different signs. Water
okay.
signs, which is Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, those are, I would say, the most intuitive because it's more of a feeling.
Okay.
Water feels things, it soaks things. When you put water on something, something sinks or it gets soaked or it floods, it moves things. That's what water does. And so everything's
Mhm.
feeling. So we are known as criers, even if we don't like anyone see us cry. Scorpios does not like
Yeah.
anyone to see them cry.
When we
Specifically.
cry, we're already mad. I mean, we're past the point. Yeah.
Yes, that's our breaking
Yeah.
point. But then there's other signs like air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. They are more um, communication signs. They intellectualize their feelings. So their intuition might be based on a thought, a question that they have, because everything air is it's wind, it's moving. So when you think of like a Gemini talks a lot. Geminis like to talk, but they're learning information. That's how they're learning. They learn it by talking and connecting with people. Libra is about the same, but Libra is more about balance. So they're going to bring balance where there's imbalance. And so that's why I think Libras can kind of sometimes they have a wishy-washy stereotype to them, but it's because they're trying to be the diplomat. They're trying to bring the balance. So they're going to bring information where maybe there's gaps in information and bring two sides together. And Aquarius is very highly intellectual. Aquarius is very innovative and individualistic. They like to be free thinkers. They like to think for themselves. So they might be thinking ahead of their time and it rubs people the wrong way. But like that's where their intuition comes from is from
Okay.
their thinking and strategy and communicating and talking to other people. It's their experience in the world and how we spread information. And the earth signs are an interesting one because I feel like a lot of earth signs would not consider themselves intuitive, but they're earth. And earth doesn't it's pretty I mean there's like fixed earth and mutable earth and cardinal modalities to each of the earth signs and every other sign, but it's funny because earth just is a kind of a standstill. They are moving slowly, consistently. So they really have to stick to a path. When you think of earth, you think of nature and growing. You plant a seed, you water it, you have to follow through with the plan. And that's where their intuition comes from. If they want to stray away from a plan, it's usually because, oh, this isn't working. But they usually see a few steps ahead, but it's through consistency and just like they're following a certain cycle in that way.
What signs are Earth?
Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn.
Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. And then the last one is fire signs. Fire signs, Aries, Sagittarius, Leo. Fire
Okay.
signs are all the spark. They're all the enthusiasm. They're all the charisma, the spontaneity. So a lot of their intuition, I think, comes from different ideas that they want to start out on, that they feel a excitement that they want to act on. Usually it's those things that bring us joy or things that are just like for sake of experience, even. That's what they like to do. They like to set out and it's all fire signs because fire, um, it burns things, it gets scorched, it needs to be contained in some way. You can have like a bonfire,
Oh,
that's a contained fire, but it's like a consistent warmth and like, creativity. And that's what I think they come from. It's just from the sparks internally, like fireworks. There's like, oh, that sounds fun. They're gonna go do that. Follow through isn't always their biggest their biggest strength,
yeah,
but they
yeah, sure.
will they will get everyone else excited for that thing though.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. See, I understand some of that because I'm sitting here thinking that my son is an earth sign, and I can see how he logically just literally thinks about things, and he will see things and try to move directions where I'm just like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And
Hmm.
he's more. So maybe that's where some of their struggles sometimes came from. So that makes a lot of sense. So like what kind of events, transits, moons, things like that are going on right now. So, what would you tell me to look forward? Right now, we're in May, at the end of May, and this may not be posted until the end of June. So, can you give us some information, maybe about what in the next month that we can be looking forward to, or
Let's
maybe be
see.
aware of?
Yeah, right now we're in Gemini season. Going into June, we'll be in Cancer season. So right now everyone is kind of in I would say a tizzy in there because we have Uranus and Neptune and Pluto right now and all these individualistic signs. And the big thing about these signs or these planets right now is because these are our background frequencies. That's what I call them because they are
Oh,
slower moving, they are more collective. Anyone born during, because Uranus takes 7 years to transit, Neptune can take like 10 to 15 years, and Pluto right now is in a 20-year cycle that just started. So all of these slow-moving planets, they're a big deal because people born during this time are all going to have these signs for the next 10 years in their chart, and it's a very collective thing. So, and the big deal about that is right now those might be natural to those people born during this time when they get older. That's going to be a natural energy for them. But for us, it's a big deal because they just moved out of other long-term transits right now. Pluto just moved out of Capricorn. Neptune just moved out of Pisces into Aries, and Uranus just moved from Taurus into Gemini. So we're experiencing this real time. And for these collective energies to experience real time, it's a wave. It's a domino effect. We have to
okay.
let it go, you know, do its thing, and then we build it back up again. And it's changing everyone's feelings, perspectives. People are, even if they're not aware of it, you might see it. A lot of astrology is easier to spot externally than it is within yourself sometimes because we're so
Okay.
emotionally attached to ourselves and our identity or whatever self-preservation we have. It can be hard sometimes, I think, to view ourselves objectively because we're living our lives through our own eyes. So yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
very hard sometimes to make astrology self-relevant that way, but it is easy to spot it in other people around you. So what's happening right now, Uranus just moved into Gemini. That's our biggest deal right now. Uranus is the planet of collective consciousness. It's the disruptor. It's rules
Mm.
electricity. It's all of these fast moving parts of the human psyche, all of our innovative thinking, all of our innovation and how we're individuals and how we think individualistically. And what happened when it was in Taurus, it had us question our sense of security because Taurus rules, it's a fixed earth sign, but Taurus is also Venus ruled, and that rules our material, what we value, and kind of like basically money, the physical forms of luxuries and resources. So that would include money, home, um, job safety. And we just learned in the last 7 years, none of that stuff is safe anymore. We've had to relearn what is our form of security for us because
Yeah.
everything's inflated. The housing market is inflated and not as stable as anymore as different materials have been used to make houses now. All of the things that we depended on for such a long time is now changing. And so now we've had to re reconstruct how we view what brings us safety. And Taurus can be like just mini luxuries, time for yourself. Self care became a big thing, I think, while Taurus
Oh,
was in
okay.
Uranus. all of these things that we were focusing on ourselves to take care of ourselves and our needs, because that's what Taurus values. Taurus values comfort. It values the things that make us feel like we have stability under our feet. And moving into Gemini, now we're going to reassess how we think about things, our perception of things, our opinions of things, how we communicate, even technology, how we use technology.
Oh, yeah.
And it's everyone's kind of, there's a lot of, it feels very ungrounded, I think. Like, I think
Mhm.
our minds are moving faster. I think, I kind of
Yeah.
think of us as a computer. Like, I feel like we have evolved so much as a collective that we are now able to process more. Everyone has short-term attention deficit now. We like short form content. No one can really
Yeah.
like really is into movies anymore and TV, and we watch 30-second to a minute and a half clips now on our phones, and we're consuming so much. But I think our brain is actually going to, I feel like we're going to learn to compute more information faster. And I feel like
Okay.
we're going to start getting more into less communication and more of, because Gemini is Mercury ruled, which is about communication.
Yeah.
I feel like it's also, it rules the nervous system in medical astrology. And our nervous system lately, everyone's been talking about that for the last year. We're now
Yeah.
learning what somatic therapy is and somatic yoga, which is what you do, and learning how
Yeah.
to be in our bodies and how to sense things in more ways than just words, which is what I think is happening. Um,
Okay.
and then that's Uranus and
Wow.
Gemini. That's the big
Wow.
one right now.
Okay. Well, that the whole thing made me think about, do you think we will eventually get away from social media? And do you think that we'll start communicating, I don't want to say normally, but do you think communication is ever going to come back the way it was before? Or how do you see us moving over this next year or so?
I think Uranus and Gemini is going to have us reconnect. We're going to have more connection with other people. I don't know. I think we're just going to start learning to use social media differently. I think instead of using it to sell things, market things, trying to promote ourselves, 'cause that's what everything does now, instead of, it's no longer social, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't feel as social as just posting your life and sharing it with other people. I feel like we're going to do that though. I feel like we're going to find a way to integrate social media with our lives in a more balanced way. Because I feel like what happened was we went from computers that we had to have at our homes, at our desks, and even then, not everyone had access to it or access to the internet, and it just evolved so fast. And I think it was a
yeah,
pendulum swing. We went from really no connection to connected to everything,
yeah,
and even more than what we can handle and process and feel and all sorts of things. And so I feel like we're going to find the middle of the pendulum swing, and we're going to find a way that I feel like, because I don't think you can resist it. I think it's here. I think the internet is here to stay.
yeah,
I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but you can't resist it either. You can try, but I feel like you should learn how to use it to your advantage. You don't have to use it like everyone else is using it, but I
yeah,
think it is helpful. I think it's a helpful resource. And if you just learn to use it more intentionally, I think it's what's going to happen. And I think people are tired of just being virtually on the internet. I think people it's like when you listen to a song 10 million times in the car until you're sick of it on the radio. And then now you're done. You need to change it. You need a new song. You need something else. You need something else to tickle your brain on loop. So I feel like people are finally reaching a breaking point and we're like, okay, the internet was fun. Now I want to go talk to real people again. So I think now, though, I do think it's going to be a way of people to connect with each other, just not with everything all at once. I think we're just going to
yeah,
use it more intentionally. And actually, because Gemini is also about connecting with people, it's about talking to people in astrology. It's in the third house. It's home in the third house, and the third house is of like acquaintances, coworkers, social groups that are like short-term distance in our short proximity. So I think we're going to start to learn to be more community in that way without being culty. That's the best word I can think of it without being
yeah.
too
That's
culty. Just keep
yeah.
maintaining individualism. But yeah,
I agree. Of course, I'm Gen X. We had no technology, and then all of a sudden we had technology, and we had fun with it. And as you know, I work with 19-year-olds, and I noticed that other than making videos, they don't know how. Their project was a podcast. None of them knew how to do a podcast. They didn't know how to record things other than a few minutes. And now it's like, I absolutely hate social media. I like podcasting because even though it is a type of social media, I get to talk to you. And by the way, we missed you on Sunday night in our get together in person. We really, I find that getting together and just sitting on the floor and just interacting and just talking and laughing, I miss that. And there's ranges in that group with us from 20-year-olds up to me and a few more that were in our 50s. And it's laughing and the energy and the, even though we're out in the world, we're not home, we're not in the world. We are in our own safe space, our own container. And just the laughter, that is all that I can think about all the time is the laughter and just the fun that I miss. I miss being a teenager with my friends in my bedroom and we're sitting there doing whatever stupid thing we did, or in college in our dorm rooms and doing whatever. And it seems like we don't have time. And we have made things so efficient that we just don't take time to just stop and enjoy in everything. So I'm glad this is coming about because honestly, I don't get on social media that much anymore. And I was always the one that was on social media all the time. And
Mhm.
I hate promoting myself on social media because it is just inauthentic. This is, it's like this way I get to share Gabby with the world and everything. And they can go through different ideas with all of us and getting to know the growth and the changes and everything. But yeah, I find that astrology, it's such a mystery for me, and I want to learn more about it, but I don't know what baby step to take. Like I've studied all about me, and I know oh Lord, my moon. What is the other sign? Uh,
Your rising
okay,
sign?
rising, ascendant, are they the same thing?
They're the same thing.
Okay, rising and ascendant, and then the other two. What are the
Sun
other
and
two?
moon.
Sun and moon. Ah, sun. Okay, see, that I just got is that a good place for us just to start? Is our three main signs there and just really researching those and getting to know us? Or would you recommend a book? Would you recommend a practice? What do you recommend for someone to really kind of grasp a little bit more about astrology in simple ways?
It's definitely easier to learn your own placements. Making it self-relevant is the easiest way. And I would start out with learning about yourself before we start. A lot of people, I think, get excited about astrology and then they start pointing out in other people, but learn about yourself first. Um, they say your sun, moon, and rising. It's like, yes, that's a good start. But for someone who doesn't know anything about astrology and you're just learning, it's actually not enough information. Just
Oh, okay.
because that is your sun is your core energy. I call it like your cup of energy, your ego, the energy you give to your everyday life. Because I think of it as it's literally the sun. So when you rise up in the morning, what do you do? What do you focus on? How do you utilize this energy that you have every day? Your moon is your internal emotional being. It's how you process emotions.
Ooh.
If you have like a water moon, you're going to feel your feelings. Sometimes you might need to feel it before you can talk about it. If you have an air moon, you might need to talk about it with someone before to process your feelings. But the moon sign is just your like immediate emotional reaction to things. And sometimes if you have an earth moon, your reaction might be very neutral and people that might throw people off. But if you know your moon sign and other people know your moon sign, they can know, hey, you're like if some people might be looking for if they're looking for processing emotions, they might want someone with a water moon or an air moon because they can talk about it and feel it. Earth moons it's similar to water where they have to feel it, but they kind of have to, they're processing it silently, you know. They kind of have to, they're trying to provide context for it first. But then you have your rising sign, which is like your life path, your identity in the first house. It's kind of how you express yourself, how you integrate in the world. What do you bring to the world, essentially? But those are just like the three main things. But if you really want to know all of your placements, I just start out with a placement that interests you. Like, I started out with learning what big thing for me was learning how I communicate. I have a Scorpio Mercury. Scorpio alone is already a pretty harsh sign sometimes.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Mercury, Mercury is about communication. I communicate pretty sharply sometimes. Like it can feel very like short but really it's just like I'm just more matter of fact. I'm just more direct when I talk, but it doesn't mean there's anything behind it, as much as I try to be like that's not my intention, but it can still come off the wrong way. And that's
Yeah.
just it's the story of my life as a Scorpio. The way I talk sometimes can just be very, very assertive and not people are as sure as themselves when they're talking. But I think what I started off with was a site called AstroSeek,
Okay.
ASTRO with a hyphen, SEEK.com. You can
Okay.
look up your chart for free. It'll go over your ascendant and it'll go over all the placements, it'll go over aspects. The only thing about it is a very generalized reading of it. So you kind of have to take what resonates and leave the rest. Take
Okay.
what resonates and then look up, a lot of people use Google. There's a lot of websites out there. I just looked at every website and I just kind of took whatever Google brought up. I looked at everything. And there's not a specific site other than AstroSeek that I really went back to again and again.
Okay.
Other than that, I started looking up books. I Actually, my first books were because I asked an astrologer to give me book recommendations. Um, and there's so many books. I have 30 books
Yeah.
now on
See?
astrology,
Yeah.
and there's so many. So you kind of just have to take what resonates. If you want to learn astrology as a whole, definitely learn for yourself. But if you're going to learn it as a study and as a subject, start by learning. I learned by learning all the signs. I
Okay.
learned all of their elements. So, because there's only four elements, so that was easy to break down 12 signs into four elements.
Okay.
Learning their modalities. There's three modalities, cardinal, mutable, and fixed. And you just kind of learn about each sign, learn about their ruling planet, and then learn about their home's house in the chart. You kind of just start piece by piece. But that's why making it self-relevant is easy because you're learning about yourself. Um, and then, but that's where it's like if you want to start learning about it as a whole, you really have to break it down. And then over time, as you start to piece it together, it took me years to really piece it together.
Wow.
I learned literally like one thing at a time, and then I became curious about the people. Because what happens, you become curious about the people around you, your family,
Yeah.
your friends, your significant other, um, your coworkers. Sometimes I wish I could sit in and like consult for job hiring. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know if these elements are going to work together, but you can really learn by learning about the people around you if they're open to it. Obviously, like ask them if they are open to it before just going and looking up their stuff. But you can learning how other people function if it's different from you. And that was kind of hard for me. I just had a lot of Scorpios in my life. So I was more than familiar with Scorpio energy. So it was almost hard to learn sometimes because everyone in my life is a Scorpio. But
Okay.
um but it is like start out with yourself, look at the website, take what resonates, leave the rest. There are things sometimes that like can sting your ego. I think sometimes like I'm not like that. And then, the more you think about it, sometimes you're like, oh, maybe. It stings at
Yeah.
first, but then once you sit with it, you're like, ah, maybe. And then you kind of
Yeah.
come to an acceptance of it, like, okay, that's just how I am, that's how I work.
Mhm.
Then how can I take that and make it a positive thing? Scorpios are known for being more bitter and more
Yeah.
revengeful, which
Angry,
I
vengeful.
don't think I really don't think Scorpios are that revengeful. I don't think they really like
Oh.
revenge. I don't know. I think it's a strong word maybe for what it is. Because for me, as I've healed and everything, I really am not revengeful anymore.
That's the key word, healed. That's
Yes, exactly. So healed, becoming more conscious,
yeah.
self-awareness. This is why I think it's important that it helps with self-awareness to be like, oh, I can be that way. but I don't want
Oh,
to be that way. So then,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah, because as a child and before, yeah, revenge was my favorite thing. I was the nasty Scorpio until I healed.
mm,
And the people around me that I knew were Scorpio. They were totally unforgiving. And now I'm like, I don't have time for that energy, just whatever.
hmm,
And as healed, you just cut people off and you're gone. And then that makes you seem to be, very hard and cruel. But to me, it's better just to cut off than to be vengeful all the time because that takes so much of your energy. So yeah,
yeah.
awesome. I know I was looking through my chart real quick when you were saying that. I went to a website and put my information in. Even though you've done it for me, this was
I was
just
gonna say I
fast.
remember most of your stuff still.
Oh
Once I learn a
gosh.
chart, I never forget it. I really don't.
I have a lot of Sagittarius. I have like one, two, three, four things of Sagittarius in here.
Hmm.
And that's like fire, isn't it?
Mutable fire.
What's that mean?
Mutable fire is so fire alone is obviously a spark, but it's being mutable, meaning you can change and adapt through that with that. So
Okay.
I don't know any good examples of like adaptable fire in real life, but you think of like or mutable fire, but you know when you think of like when you light something on fire, it disintegrates, right? It changes one
Yeah.
form to another form. But Sagittarius specifically, though, is mostly about truth and experience and very much about the bigger meaning of life, where we find our morals, our ethics, and religion, even,
Yeah.
philosophy. And that's what Sagittarius is about. And so being a mutable fire sign can make a Sagittarius, if you're not if you don't have a way to direct your energy, it can kind of just be impulsive and you might just have mini fires everywhere.
Oh,
You might-
that
just
makes a lot of sense.
a trail of mini fires that need to be contained in some way. So if the Sagittarius likes to do things for sake of experience, for sake of the plot, but it's because Sagittarius is that more enthusiastic energy that we need in life. Where can we apply
Okay.
meaning? Where can we find meaning in what we're experiencing? Finding truth is really what Sagittarius wants to know the truth, and you kind of have to discover that for yourself. That's the other thing is because you're mutable fire, you can change how you perceive things and think about things based on your experience. You learn. Definitely Sagittarius is like a hands-on learner.
Okay.
Compared to the sister sign, the signs all have sister signs. The
Oh,
sister sign
I
of
didn't know
Sagittarius
that.
is Gemini. Yeah, and Gemini is more about asking the questions. It's more of like an inner child curiosity.
Okay.
When you think of children and they're learning how to walk and talk and do all the kind of like basic things, is very Gemini, and they learn by copying their external world. They're based on their role models or examples. They are going to learn from their community. Sagittarius is more of like, okay, I've been there, done that, and you can tell me whatever you think about this or that, but I'm still gonna go do that thing even though you told me not to. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but they don't know until they go do it. They learn,
Yeah,
they can
that
kind of
sounds
learn
like,
the hard way sometimes,
yeah.
but words aren't enough for them. They need to go apply those thoughts and opinions that they've learned and be like, okay, I'm gonna go experiment with that and see what that gives me. Is what
Just because I
Sagittarius
tell
is
you
like.
the stove is hot, you've got to stick your finger on it just
Mm-hmm.
to see. Yeah,
Yep.
that's definitely me. And I've got several of those and Gemini and everything else. So, yeah. Okay. Wow. That's a lot of information. So, what I want to do is I want to have you back later with some specific things that
Hmm.
we'll talk about later. This kind of gave me some ideas. But before we close, is there anything that you would like to share with us? Maybe how we can connect with you, any of your articles, how to book a reading, or if you're doing that right now, anything at all? Where can we find you?
So I am awful at social media, but I do have it up. I do writing on Substack. I usually
Awesome.
do a lot of more personal perspective writing and relate it to astrology and kind of a way to help people see astrology in a bigger picture than just our personalities and what we identify with. So on Substack, I am cosmically distracted.
I love
That's
that.
why that's why I've decided to call it because everything I do, I have questions through the cosmos. I'm always thinking, how does this relate to astrology in my everyday life? So Substack is Cosmically Distracted,
Okay.
and Instagram is also Cosmically Distracted, and I have a link for my Calendly for readings through there. And
Okay.
each Calendly has a description on what you'll be getting in each reading.
Awesome. Great. Well, what I'll do is I'll link all of these in the show notes. And then when I send out my Substack email,
Mhm.
I will put all the links in there for them. Okay. So we'll make sure we get it together. But thank you for coming today. And thank everyone for listening. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. So good night.